Hello, I'm putting a little bit of video in here just so you can see that indeed I am still working with you. Here I am with my stylish headsets on. We're going to look at 3 grammatical transformations of a nonsense sentence. And why don't we start by having me read it. Clostrigal perglamos will maclerate multifrangible monopixamules whenever a zygoplam triglopterizes each of a set of diminuperted tragloglumps. For the rest of the lecture, we'll do this in audio only. So what is clostrigal perglamos? Well, let's see. Let's get our pencil down here. Perglamos would appear to be a noun. I think you all might recognize that as a noun. And what's one of the things that perglamos apparently does? Well, perglamos maclerates. And it appears that it really likes to maclerate monopixamules because this acts as an object here. It's another noun. And I think you all would recognize these as nouns. Clostrigled is an adjective modifying perglamos. This is the subject of the opening clause. This is the verb. So we know that perglamos maclerates monopixamules. You know who does what to whom, just at the grammatical level. And even though these words mean nothing to you, there's meaning in the grammar. And it's that meaning in the grammar, that technical ability to recognize the subject, the verb, and the object, that's your key analytical skill, your technical skill. In the second clause, it happens to be an adverbial clause. Here's whenever. A clause is any, which is an adjective, or excuse me, an adverb, which makes this whole thing an adverbial clause. Here's another noun operating as a subject. Triglopterizes is the verb, and what does it triglopterize? Well, looks like it triglopterizes tragloglumps. A clause is any group of words with a subject and a verb. A phrase is any group of words that performs a syntactic function in a sentence. Here's the same sentence in the passive voice. In this case, monopixamules is in the subject, maclerated is the verb, so monopixamules are maclerated by clostrigal perglamos. Whenever each of a set of diminuperted tragloglumps, now in the subject position, is triglopterized by a zygoplam. And then here is the same sentence written before it got edited. The prediction of, the occurrence of, multifrangible monopixamulated macleration by, the action of, clostrigal perglamos will be more confident. Prediction will be. One of those severed head sentences again, with lots of room between the subject and the verb. The point here is to show you that grammar indeed has meaning, and when we don't put words in the grammatical positions that enforce the meaning that the words are meant to invoke for the reader, then the words alone, without grammatical help, are likely not to tell the story. And if we were to justify this edit, we'd show the before version and the after version. And here's a sample justification. You start by saying what's wrong with the original. It has a chain of prepositional noun phrases, and then identify at least some of them: prediction of, occurrence of, action of, at the head of the main clause, which leaves the reader unsure which noun or noun phrase is the rhetorical subject, even though the grammatical subject, prediction, is the first noun and clearly in the subject position. Notice also the verb will be is at the end of the main clause. So when you do your justification, start by telling me what's wrong with the original. So how did it get fixed? To emphasize the rhetorical subject, I made perglamos and zygoplam the grammatical subjects and moved them to the left, placing them at the head of their clauses, followed immediately by the action verbs to create a who does, SVO, complement structure. Perglamos, subject, will maclerate, verb, and zygoplam, subject, triglopterizes. The grammatical subjects and the rhetorical subjects of the revised sentence are now the same, and the subjects and verbs are stated together in a strong who does what SVO complement head first structure. I'm looking for you to be able to tell me in these terms, grammatical subject, rhetorical subject, clarifying who does what using what Rude calls SVO structure, how your edit is stronger, better than the original. And finally, the last part of this is a brief, very brief sentence revision checklist. This is noun style writing that we've been talking about. Here's some samples. Then here's some other things just pulled from good advice. Avoid first and foremost full and complete. Supposedly if it's complete it should be full. Any and all, well, let's use any or all. Let's not use both. Same thing with redundant categories. You'll see these all the time. Large in size, red in color, and just stuff such as kind of, sort of, the area of, holdovers from speech that show up in the written product. And then there's some phrase for a word due to the fact that, almost always just delete it, replace it with because. And there's a few more there on the sheet that won't show up in the screen here, but you can see them if you look at the script that goes along with this brief lecture.